week 3 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few prospects I would watch and possibly add this week. The first prospect, Nick Kurtz of the Athletics. Nick Kurtz, he's off to some tear in the early going. Number 1 prospect in this athletic system, number 35 prospect overall, available in 80% of fantasy leagues. And it already looks like the A's are making some plans for Kurtz to be up sooner than later after the tear he's been on in the minor leagues, whereas Soderstrom, they might move him to DH, and Brett Rooker now has been playing some outfield over the last few games, and also Seth Brown has been put in center field for this athletic team. So far this year, in a small sample size, he's tearing it up in AAA Vegas. 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, 15 runs scored, a 344 average, and a 386 on base percentage for Kurtz, and only 15 games and 64 at-bats, where last season he was drafted by the Athletics, and he had 4 home runs, 13 RBIs last season, a stolen base, 14 runs scored, a 368 average, and a 520 on base. So far he's been tearing it up in small sample sizes in the minor leagues. We know this A team, they want at least another year of control. It might take a few more weeks before Kurtz is in the major leagues, but like I said, he's tearing it up down there. And this athletic team we know is one of the worst teams in the league, most likely not going anywhere once again this season. So Kurtz, it wouldn't be surprising to me if he's up in the major leagues early May, mid-May, and making an impact. Like I said, the power numbers have been great, batting average great as well, hitting in the 340s, and definitely a prospect to keep an eye on and possibly add this week, available in 80% of leagues. Next prospect, another highly touted prospect, Bubba Chandler of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bubba Chandler, he's done it all in the minor leagues. He's their number 1 prospect in the system and number 14 overall in Major League Baseball. And he's gone out there last season, pitched well, and so far this year in a small sample size has looked good, where he's just fine-tuning before they call him up. And obviously it's about an extra year of control with arbitration his teams want, and that's why these prospects didn't make it with the big league club, because I believe Chandler's ready. And we saw last season in the minor leagues, 119 2/3, 10-7 record, 3.08 ERA in 23 games started, 148 Ks, and a 1.02 whip. And so far this season, he's already started 3 games, but they're taking it easy with him. 10 2/3, 0-0 record, 1.69 ERA, 18 strikeouts, and a 0.84 whip. So have Skeens and Chandler at top of the rotation for Pittsburgh. That's going to be a lethal 1-2 combination, I believe, for many seasons over there. And like I said, he's done it all in the minor leagues as Chandler, and he's just waiting and staying sharp down there before they call him up. Because like I said, most of these prospects, May, June, teams start calling them up. Unless you're like the Rockies, where they just want to see what these guys have now, and they've called up a couple prospects so far in the early going of the season. So Bubba Chandler, he could pay big dividends for fantasy owners and be another mainstay in this rotation and one of the better pitching prospects in all Major League Baseball. And he's available in 78% of fantasy leagues. Next prospect, Emmanuel Rodriguez of the Minnesota Twins. Emmanuel Rodriguez, he could be up sooner than later for this Twin team, where they're a struggling team like the Athletics, going nowhere this season. Rodriguez, the number 2 prospect in their system and number 34 prospect overall in Major League Baseball, available in 97% of fantasy leagues. Here's Rodriguez. And last season, 9 homers, 27 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 47 runs scored, a 280 average, and a 459 on base. So that's a big on base. He's got a good eye at the plate. He's got some speed as well as Rodriguez. And so far this year, off to a slow start. He is in AAA, no homers, 6 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 runs scored, a 256 average, and 373 on base. So like I said, he's got a good eye, is Rodriguez. This Twin team has a lot of injuries so far in the first 3 weeks of the year. And they're a team that looks like they could be one of the worst teams in the league, with not great pitching, not much going on hitting. And Rodriguez, he's estimated to come up this season as well. So with all those factors, and he just has to cut down his strikeout rate a little bit in the minor leagues. But like I said, a lot of injuries as well in Minnesota. I think they're going to call up the prospect sooner than later in Rodriguez, most likely early May, mid-May, I believe. Like I said, a lot of injuries. Carlos Correa, he left the other night. He's banged up with a wrist a little bit. Royce Lewis, he's been out. Walner, he got banged up as well. And Byron Buxton, he's been a walking injury, unfortunately, throughout his career. So Rodriguez, like I said, with all those factors, a struggling team and injuries on this roster, I think Rodriguez could be in the major league sooner than later. Next prospect, Cade Horton of the Chicago Cubs. So now with the Justin Steele injury out for the season, just one more injury, or Ben Brown or Colin Ray to struggle for Horton to step in to a spot in the rotation. 23 years old, he's ready to go. I believe, just fine-tuning as well in the minor leagues, where last season he was banged up a majority of the year, and that's why he's not up as well, I believe, as Horton. Last season, 9 games started, 2-1 record, 4.46 ERA, 40 Ks and 34 and a third, and a 1.25 whip in this season so far. 2 games started, 7 and a third, 0-1 record, 1.23 ERA, a 1.50 whip, and 12 strikeouts. So like I said, with Ben Brown, he struggled the first 2 outings of the year for himself. And then also now with the Justin Steele injury, I think Horton could be up in the major leagues sooner than later. Like I said, he's been good in the minor leagues. He's done all he can. He's estimated to come up this season as Cade Horton. So he's got good stuff in the minors. This Cub team's obviously trying to be a contender this year. And right now, instead of going out there trying to trade for a starter, where you have to wait till June or July before some of these teams aren't contending and trade pieces away unless they get blown away by an offer, I think Horton's the best option to come in for this Chicago Cub rotation. Even though I know Colin Ray, he was decent last year with the Brewers, and also Ben Brown, he's another young up-and-coming prospect through the system over the last couple seasons. I think Horton has more upside than those players, and someone who could definitely contribute and help this Cub team. In the 5th and final prospect I will watch and possibly add this week's Drew Gilbert of the New York Mets. Gilbert, last season he was in the top 100. This season he didn't make it in the top 100 in Major League Baseball, where he struggled last year and injuries did him in. So right now available 99% of fantasy leagues and the number 11 prospect for the New York Mets. So now with Jose Siri out with a broken shin and Tyrone Taylor in the outfield for New York, I think Drew Gilbert could come in and show more upside than a Tyrone Taylor. And also he was a big piece in that Justin Verlander trade a couple trade deadlines ago. So last season, like I said, a struggle and injuries it was for Gilbert. 10 home runs, 33 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 62 games, a 205 average and a 313 on base percentage. But so far this season, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs in single A, where he's rehabbing a little bit. 375 average, 444 on base, and 4 runs scored in 6 games. So Drew Gilbert, he's looked good. The swings look compact. It's looked better. And Drew Gilbert, like I said, he was highly touted prospect in that Astros system, a first-round pick in 2022. So I think he could come up. I think he could help this New York Mets team 2023 with 3 minor league teams in the Mets organization. He had a good year, 18 homers, 59 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, 79 runs scored with a 289 average and a 381 on base. So Gilbert, he's been good in his minor league career besides last year. And I think Gilbert, as long as he's healthy and gets back to basics, he could come up for this New York Mets team and help, because there's not an outfielder really out there. I think they could go out there and trade unless they go all in for Luis Robert or try to play Jeff McNeil in center field, where I think he's more of a corner guy than a center fielder. So I believe Gilbert, there's a possibility he could be up in the next few weeks if Taylor struggles or if they try someone else out there in center field with Siri out and they just can't get the job done. So that's a few prospects I would watch and possibly add for week 3 of the fantasy baseball season.